Go. All over to you, Ron.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ron Rupert. I'm a first year PhD student at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And so I'll jump right in. Our session today is Google AI Studio for equity-driven enrichment activities. And so my faculty advisors, Dr. Song, she's assistant professor in theory and practice of teacher education here at UT. So feel free. I like it to be pretty interactive. If you got questions, throw them in the chat. I'll try to work with the moderators to get all those answered for you. So real quick, the session agenda, the why is that all too often enrichment only benefits the gifted, right? The enrichment opportunities are only for the students that are gifted, and it seems to be that the same students get the same opportunities over and over. And then many of our students face barriers to be able to access enrichment activities. And then teacher burnout, like teachers and instructors at kind of all levels um, are asked to do so much that having something like AI prototyping can help educators test more inclusive support much quicker, much faster. And so what we'll do in this session is you'll see my prototype of my app that I built. We're currently using in a study in a school district here in Knoxville. And then together we'll build a new prototype using Google AI Studio. And then at the end, we'll reflect on how this impacts inclusion and how feasible it might be. I'm a big tangibles guy, so hopefully you leave with the ability to be able to implement something right away. So I'll jump in and I'll demonstrate the app real quick with just a little bit of backstory. My son was chosen to participate in Knox County's Great Shake event. This is sort of like a regional competition that mimics Ron Clark's Amazing Shake. And basically, it's where gifted fifth graders get to go compete against other fifth graders in adult communication style activities, like introduce yourself to a CEO in the elevator or answer questions about a job interview or talk to your friend about a difficult situation. And so I built this app for everybody else, right? So what about the other 95% of kids in the county that don't get to do this activity? They need access to something like that. And so this app provides enrichment opportunity to all students. I called it Charisma Lab. I'm going to switch my screen here and make sure that you all are seeing what we need you to see. Can you see the Charisma Lab box? I think so. Okay, so this is the app. I'm just going to log in as a developer so you can see. And so what the app does is it has various video, audio, and written communication experiments, we're calling them, that students can participate in. So video, it'll record the video and audio to examine for facial expression, body language, eye contact, as well as tone, inflection, poise, exactly what you're saying. Audio, same kind of process, but no video. And written is a kind of a separate rubric for written responses. And so I want to try to demo this and hopefully it'll work. But we're going to go into this protocol integrity. So it says you're a research participant in a social simulation. Appears questioning your assigned role. You must maintain your persona as a senior consultant while collecting data on their responses. And so you just start the experiment and it is going to a launch. Let's see if it'll run here. I might have to turn my camera off real quick. Hold on. Come on. Well, maybe. I won't spend too much time. I'm going to jump into like a written one, just so you can like at least see it so we can get to the part that you want to do. So it's write a polite and professional thank you note to a valuable collaborator. So the briefings, a long-term collaborators just provided critical data, write a professional email thanking them, and acknowledge the contribution they made. And so they get to write their letter. Hey man, thanks for all the help. I could have done it better, but still, thanks. And submit. And so what AI is going to do in the background is it's going to analyze that response against a rubric and spit out a score, and then provide the student opportunity to reflect. And so the student, before they get their results, they have to reflect. I did it. Uh, could have been longer. And again, I'm just trying to go through it real quick so you can see because I want to get to building one together. It seems to not be working. Well, this is embarrassing, but normally what would happen at this stage is the AI would provide targeted feedback. It may be we're in the process of iterating it for the study, so there may just be some bugs I have to work out. Um, but that's essentially what the app does. I've got some videos on the website, and you'll have a QR code to that toward the end to be able to see. I wish it would have worked, but it's not really loading, and it might be because I'm like logged into the Zoom. Um, and so what we'll do is I'll just kind of show you AI Studio. So Google AI Studio is backed by Gemini. It is the program that I use to build this app, and it's cool because it's a no-code situation. You don't have to know any computer programming to be able to use it. It's just prompt-based app design. So I'm going to go into, and maybe it'll work from this side. So you can see some of the iterating I've been doing with it this morning. Um, and so you just kind of talk with it back and forth, and it'll update in real time. So let's see if we can show what's going on here. Here we go. So in the design, I can iterate with it and say, like, I don't like the way the home screen looks. And if I hit enter, it'll iterate on that and change it and allow me to prompt back and forth with it. I don't know if it'll let me test it here, but let's see. Okay,
Hmm,
so
interesting. So, based on the current protocol, I didn't note a specific start time for this step. Could you clarify when we were supposed to begin this part?
I've told you 1,000 times what time we're supposed to start. You're not listening, so there's a real big issue there. So sorry, it's not working. We'll just try to proceed through and we'll try to build our own, and maybe we can build something that'll work. Um, it must just be being kind of buggy, which is if you've ever been a developer on something, um, that's kind of how it works. So here's kind of what the rubric would look like. It gives some strengths and some adjustments, some simulated feedback, the score against a rubric, um, and whether or not you mastered that skill or not. And then, like all apps, there's badges that the kids can earn. So there's clearly just some bugs that I need to work through once we get finished. So I'm going to jump back into the presentation so that we can see, and we'll just jump right into building one together. All right. So this is the template that I used to build this app. I won't read it verbatim, but same kind of thing. It's what I want to build, what it's about, what the goal is, what's the environment, what kind of behavior am I looking. And then I take that prompt and I feed it to your favorite AI tool, so Gemini or Chat or Perplexity, and then have it refine it to be optimized for Google AI Studio. And then that output is what we'll actually use to build our app. And so I want to build our own together real fast. So if we can throw into the chat some ideas for an app that we want to build together. So you can go ahead and just dump them in there and we'll see what kind of ideas that we get. There's 10 participants. Some sort of like enrichment activity. So, so we want to build an AI agency app. We see build an infographic, so an app that builds infographics. Okay. Last call for any other ideas before we go for it. Okay. Well, we'll human-centric, concerned with how learners feel. Okay, maybe we can merge the two of those and kind of figure this out. So who do we want our target audience to be? Do we want this to be for like adult learner, first year college students? Perfect. And then what's the course or subject? So subject, so we said like an AI agency, so AI in education. What kind of introduction to Gen AI? Okay, cool. Any kind of prior knowledge that we, needed to know. This is just undergrad with a variety of experience with AI. Any misconceptions? Um, this is where you would put things like they give up easily or any kind of issue that you might anticipate the app that we're building will run into. So we can say that uh, AI policies vary by institution. Do we have some sort of like learning standard that we're trying to apply? Oh, imprecise questions are great. And then the learning standard, I think, was like um, considering oops, human-centric um, AI agency. Activity type, we can even kind of lump in what the other person was saying. So use AI to build infographics for class. The triggering event, this is sort of the like what's going to happen that kind of really makes it go. Um, in my thing, it was they participate in that trial. So the triggering event here could be student prompts or learn user prompts to build infographic based on set criteria. And then the last one, the student's task, they just have to enter criteria needed to build infographic. And so that's all the fleshed out. You have to have it. You don't have to um, really get any more in depth than that. That is enough information to work. And so these 8 kind of planning questions were what Dr. Song kind of developed to throw into this template that she put here. And I'm going to give everybody access. Oops. I'm going to give everybody access to the template. when you're done. That way you can go back and reference it. And so then you kind of just fill in the numbers into where they fit into this template. So we're going to build an infographic maker, educational app for first year college students about introduction to generative AI. The goal is to consider human agency or consider human-centered AI agency. The setting or the environment, the triggering event is user prompts to build an infographic. The misconception are that users could ask imprecise questions. The student's task is to enter criteria needed to build infographic. If they fail, provide feedback based on the fact that they have varying levels of experience with generative AI. So we have our template, and I could take this and put it into Google AI Studio. And in fact, in Dr. Song's class, that's usually what she does. The mindset is get prototype first, iterate later, just try to get like as quick to a minimum viable product as possible. I've added um, the running it through an AI agent of your choice because it kind of has made the app building process go a little better. So I just take my template and paste it into the beginning of this prompt, and then I'm going to take that whole thing and I'm going to go into my favorite AI agent. So we can go to like Google Gemini. And I'm just going to paste our new prompt into there, turn this completed app proposal. So I'm just going to hit send, and Gemini's are going to work through it. And this is kind of the optimized prompt. So I'm just going to take all of this. So it's a lot more um, focused to the app building environment itself. So I take that and then I go into AI Studio. And all we're going to do when you go to AI Studio is go to build. And in that build, you're going to paste that prompt. And we can get rid of the why the prompt works part. There we go. And hit build. And so the app, Google AI Studio, is going to go to work here. And the length of time it takes to get the minimum viable product kind of varies. But we should have something here really soon that is working. And what I'll do in the interest of time, since we started a little late, is I'll start to talk about some of the limitations and issues. There is a free tier, and so everything that we're doing now, you'll be able to create your account. It'll be free, and it's web hosted, so you don't have to worry about trying to make it adaptable for the iOS App Store or the Android or the Google Store. You can host right in Google Cloud, and it's free up to a limit, right? Once you use the free allotment of tokens, you have to wait until the next day to use it, or you have to enter a paid tier. With that in mind, the paid tier is one, very affordable, like millions of tokens for like dollars. And then two, I haven't ran out of tokens in a day in my app use yet. Now I don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of people using it, but that is just something that I like to mention while it builds. The second thing is every layer of complexity that you add to it is a layer of difficulty in managing it. So my app has a login, and that login the very first time was isolated to your local machine. So if I signed up on my computer, I was only able to use the app signed in on that account on the computer. And so it wasn't until I had a back end database called Firebase, and that's a whole different rabbit hole. But because logging in and being able to log in on any device and have your information save across all those devices was important to me, I had to prompt back and forth with AI, do a lot of research to make those back connections happen because I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, I'm just a former teacher turned PhD student. So kind of keep that in mind. I've built a couple of other apps while this is doing its thing that don't require logins. They're just single use apps like taking, I'll show you one while we're waiting for that to build so that we're not just staring into the abyss. Um, but like this app, EduTranslate, was also built, and all it is for is it takes complex academic writing and translates it into various audiences and various roles. So I can look for like academic writing excerpt while this is still building. And I'm just going to take this. I don't know, I just want to show you how it works. And we're going to say build this for a student in elementary school. And so now it's going to generate that report based on that text. And that was something that I built in AI Studio that is very low level. It has no login, it doesn't save any queries, it doesn't really do anything that requires a whole lot of token use or a whole lot of um, back-end difficulty. It just works once it takes its time. And so you can see kind of how it spit it out, what it was said, what the publication data is, kind of these bullet points for objective approach key findings. This product is actually being considered to be attached to some pretty in-depth AI products that are in the works, and it was built in minutes using Google AI Studio. So hopefully it finishes up soon. It's working. Are there any questions that you have like initially on the onset while we're waiting for the app to build in the back end? I can try my best to answer them. No? The question is it easy to reconfigure the final interface of your custom app? Yes. So like iterating is super easy. And so I hope this gets done so that I can show you that iteration. I even did a full rebranding. So if you visit my website, that original app was called the Underground Trials, and it was like a spy theme. And once we got ready to roll it out to K-12, like actual fifth graders, it just didn't seem appropriate. And so I asked it to do a complete rebrand. It used up like all of my free tokens for that day because it was such a heavy ask, but it did it and did it well. So it was super easy. I just in the prompt said, I don't like this, change it and make it more geared towards something fifth grade friendly. So here's our app that we built as a group. And so in the Google AI Studio, we can like test it, beta test it. And so how the app interpreted it is that we answer these prompting questions. So who is this for? So like let's say that I need to make an infographic for um, high school students. And the content is the top 5 features of generative AI. And we can explain the style. So, fun and whimsical, but still high school appropriate. And then data um, must include Chat GPT and Google Gemini. And again, they can put, whatever they want in there. A cyberpunk for a like a style. Cyberpunk style would be cool. And so we'll submit it and we'll see. And so what's happening as it's working, um, so the prompt, so that's pretty cool. So it's giving us a critique of our prompt over on the side, um, asking us to add anything that we want to it. Um, I'm not sure what the experience levels are. They have it over here, but it's got something going on there. But we're going to go ahead and hit generate the infographic and see what it says. And there's the infographic. And so now comes the fun part of fixing the app and iterating it, because I'm sure there are things that we do not like about this, but it says ChatGPT, the text alchemist, Gemini, the multimode master, and it kind of talks about some different points of AI. So at this point, if I was still doing the presentation, so let me see if I can um, make this screen smaller to where so you can still kind of see what's going on and get back into the thing here is we're going to do breakout rooms. I don't know that we have enough people that would maybe warrant that. We can if you guys want to, but what we can do is you guys can back and forth with each other or just throw into the chat what are some things about the app that worked, what feels generic, um, what's missing for like real learner use, um, what could create exclusion if we didn't change it. And basically, at the end of the next little bit, um, we want to have one thing to add, one thing to expand, one thing to change, any other issues. So I've already seen dropped in the chat that the neon wording is something else. And so maybe neon wording, neon text is not great. Any other thoughts? Because it's probably not accessible. So like that's helpful to even say, like when we go to iterate with it. Any other things that we think it needs or yeah, because that those are some things to change. So like I'm going to mention that the experience level buttons don't seem to do anything. So the graphics are missing from the infographic. Right. So I love that. Where are all the graphics? We basically made a poster with a bunch of words and tiny little neon emojis essentially. So where are the graphics? It's a great point. What else? So like I think that's something to those are things to change and maybe expand on. I'm going to ask about like the experience level buttons. What do they do? Why and what? All right, I think that's a good thing to kind of start iterating. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to first do like the easiest one. The neon text is hard to read and probably wouldn't be accessible. Fix that. And so I send that little prompt to it, and it's going to get to work and it'll update all the code. And so while it's doing this, I do like to show people who maybe are into code or know a little bit about coding is you can go into code and see everything that's happening behind the scenes. And what's cool is as you gain experience, then you can get in and edit the code directly and make changes to your app with the code. Um, but for there are some things I've been able to figure out, but for the most part, I kind of stay in this preview world where I can just prompt with it back and forth and immediately see. And while it's making changes, we can still kind of work with it. Um, it's given us, you can look at the different styles. You can go to like our my current screen, or you can go to mobile, or you can go see it from tablet. You can look, it's using the Gemini 3 Flash, and it's kind of telling us what it's working through. Um, and it will, once it gets finished, it's working. So it kind of shows you all the different levels of code it's changing. And you don't have to go step by step. It perfectly can handle multiple iterations. And so we'll let it see what this one does. In the meantime, if you have any other ideas, it gave some refinement. So maybe if we would have, see, we didn't really define what fun and whimsical in a cyberpunk context. Um, so like that could have made our prompt better. I think that the AI Studio works with different language tools. Is it JavaScript, Python? Um, yeah, I think it is. It's not necessarily Python. I know there's CSS and JSON. I believe it's JavaScript based. Um, but I'm not a coder. It's working. It's trying to get there. Some days it works a little faster than others. It very well could be my home internet, but which is, you know, part of it. Um, oh, but so kind of back to what I was saying. After it gets this one, we'll have it iterate a few things at once next time. Like we'll ask it to add actual infographics instead of being just all words. All right, so it told me what the key improvements are. It's now ready. And so we can kind of try it again and give a new one. So I'm just going to do something basic so we can see if the neon text is gone. Top five Gen AI concepts, cyberpunk theme, um, high level graphics with small amount of text explaining top five Gen AI concepts. And so I'm really just trying to check to see that our iterations worked. So I'm going to ignore its score real quick because I'm just kind of wanting to see. All right, so the font definitely better, right? It's a lot more accessible. Still got like the neon in there. I still don't really see a theme, and there definitely doesn't seem to be any infographics, and I can't really tell what these buttons do. So we'll iterate kind of on that. This is supposed to be infographic maker, and there are no graphics. The design needs to be graphics heavy with minimal text. Also noticed the beginner, intermediate, and expert buttons don't seem to do anything. And then we'll say make the cyberpunk theme more obvious without making the font color inaccessible. And so you can literally just go back and forth with it. I do this a lot. And again, like I said, it took a full day of back and forth and an entire rebrand for me to run out of free tokens. Um, and that's with an app that's pretty complex, doing a lot of back end login and different things of that nature. So we'll let it finish this one iteration and give it one more try. And then we'll kind of just open the floor for a back and forth discussion about how this could be implemented, how it could be used, um, and obviously, you know, like some of the strengths and weaknesses for it. Yeah. Yep. And so, yeah, the whole API key game. And again, I wasn't a developer. And so I'll show like how to share it. You know, you generate an API key on a cloud-based deployment. And so it makes it really nice because you can then take that API key into your other environments to, like you could build the shell here and then bring it into GitHub or some other Python IDE and further evaluate. Or you could bring it into the Swift environment and try to make it to a full deployable iOS app. Um, for me, for what I use, it's just in the Google way. Most, especially K-12, but even some higher ed institutions, um, they have the Google environment built into kind of what they work with and use. And so, despite being a little unpredictable, it does provide a way for some things to be done quickly, and in a way that's, I don't want to say no effort for teachers, but maybe lower effort. And then if you're curious, when it's ready, how do you launch and host it? Yep, awesome. So as soon as we get done with these iterations, even if it's not perfect, I'll show you how to host it, and then we'll do some questionings. And curious to see what it comes up with. Yeah, so uh it's a web-based app. So as you can access it on mobile as long as you're accessing it through like Safari or Chrome, or some sort of web browser on the app on the phone. And so, like my son used this, like demoed my Charisma Lab app on his iPad, and it worked great. And that's what's cool. Like in the environment, you can check it out from mobile and tablet and like desktop view. That way, if you want to look at it in the mobile view, you can be like, I don't like the way it looks in mobile view. I can't see anything, and it'll help make those changes. Yeah, so you can see like right now it's not set up for the tablet view very well at all. And so that's something we would want to fix via iteration. So while it's kind of finishing up, I'll walk through how to publish it. You can share with somebody else. So you can type in an email address of a colleague, and then now you guys can work on the app together, um, or they can get it and make a copy of it and work on it themselves, um, or you can publish it. And to publish it, um, you're going to basically be given a URL. Um, oh, thanks, Brandon. We'll see you. Hopefully, I can show this to everybody real quick. Um, you create a new cloud-based project. So I'm just going to hit create project, and I'll call this one the infographic project. And you hit create project, and this will be cloud. This essentially, when you do that, you're creating a new Google cloud-based product. And then now that you're ready to publish your app, you just select that product, that project, and then if you want to publish, you have to set up your billing. And what that means is just like when you set up the billing, you choose an account to line up the billing with, and you can set whether or not you ever leave the free tier, if that makes sense. And so you would just hit add new billing account and kind of walk through that. And then what happens is it will generate an API key for you. And you can set that spend cap and make it 0. And then that way, yeah, yep, it can stay free. You can set your spend cap to 0, and then basically it just stops working when your spend cap is met. Um, but uh, but yeah, so you can. It's not letting me do it until I set a spend cap. Okay, so it's set the spend cap. I can now publish it, and we should be good to go. Down here, publish app. And so now it'll build it, give a link. Now it's free. You share that link with whoever. You can put it on a website, um, attach it to a subdomain. You can do all those normal things that you could do with a link. Um, and so that's how you do it. I'm going to stop it. But so it totally changed the thing here real quick. So before you all go, if you want to see, we'll do that one more time. The whole app has a cyberpunk thing now, so I think it really misunderstood what I was saying. Um, Gen AI, visual style, must include Chat GPT and Gemini. And it could tell me over here what the buttons did. Um, but yeah, so you can see it's not a foolproof system, but it's a way for you to get minimum viable products for apps kind of out and working. Um, so sorry we had some bugs with the demo. If you want, since we ran out of time to really reflect, I think we kind of all saw um, the pros and the cons of it, the speed of which the not needing to know any code, but the bugginess and the time it takes. Um, and then again, I wasn't feeding it very good information, garbage in, kind of garbage out scenario. Um, but hopefully you can see how you can design things quickly in a way that maybe gives people access. And so if you want the template and the AI prompt to help get your prompt going, you can scan that code. I can also put the link in the chat. And then if you ever want to collab with me on anything, just let me know. You can scan and reach my website, or you can visit the website as well. Thanks for your time. Sorry again, the timing didn't line up and it was a little buggy.
Thanks, Ron. I joined a little late, uh, tagged in by Brandon, but I was wondering if you had time for one question from me,
Yeah.
and any other questions come in. We can stay a little bit longer if we do have questions come in because we started late, I know. I was curious about your thoughts on the ways that kind of the rhetoric, like the visual rhetoric of the app, um, kind of can appeal to certain audiences. So I know that you had instructed it a certain type of kind of visual look. And I was wondering how you think of that in terms of the um, kind of audience for the app. Like, is that kind of a component as you're developing the
Yeah.
prototypes?
Yeah. And am I muted?
No, you're not.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. And that could come at different stages. So,
hmm
in my, you can kind of see it. I'm gonna just play this video just for a second. So those who know the original app interface was this kind of black and yellow, everything's dark, and it's like a spy theme. And so it really was not super appealing, especially for fifth grade students, which is who this was designed for.
hmm
Um, and then the spy theme also was just not something that I was finding might resonate with a wide fifth grade audience. And so I did that rebrand. I was like, let's go more light colored. Um, let's build it around a lab experiment phase to where it's more of like you're learning and getting better and experimenting with things. Um, and that can happen in any way. And so, like right here, where it took my last iteration and made the whole app now this
hmm
neon cyberpunky feel, I would probably do one of two things. I would hit my search or my history here and restore it back to a previous version, like an earlier version, or I would just iterate and be like, I meant within the prompt, align
hmm
more to the prompt and not make the whole app cyberpunk. But that's a great question.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think about how the visual, I'm using the word visual rhetoric, but like the layout and the
Mhm.
themes of a particular app might increase or decrease engagement for kids. I know
Yeah,
like there's like a Minecraft obsession. So
yeah,
like how just like neon colors and blocky um elements might draw kids in just because of the
yeah,
things that they're familiar with. So that's just what was on my mind with that. But that would be a really interesting piece
yeah.
of study as well.
Well, I think
Um,
So like the study that my app is being tied to is a design-based research study. So we're going to let kids play with it and tell me why it's not good, and then iterate it and try it
Oh,
again.
I love
Try
that. Yeah.
it again. All while allowing them to build these communication skills. Because if the app didn't bug out, it's really cool. Like you back and
Hmm.
forth with the AI, it picks up off of you, and then at the end it scores you against a rubric that I developed, through some lit review. So you can feed it rubrics, you can add your own pictures, um, and it you can really customize it quite a bit.
That's super interesting. Sorry if I missed that piece of the presentation at the
No, no,
beginning,
it
but
just you missed the most frustrating part.
oh,
It didn't work. It was really buggy. It was working this morning when I tested and now it's not. So
and I'll also just add, I really like the idea of just in a discussion of equity and like human-centered design, including young people in the design process. Because I haven't seen a lot of sessions about that. So that's a really cool
yeah.
research project. So
Well,
good.
and like I've mentioned it
Yeah.
to some of my faculty from the class I've taken is everybody's now releasing like a chat bot for their class, like a tutor bot.
Hmm.
And so in my mind, I'm like, why not involve us in that process as
Hmm.
students to like see what would we want out of a chat bot so that if it's just going to like analyze my code and flag what's wrong with it. Well, our studio does that, so this isn't really going to help me a whole lot.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, bringing in stakeholders in the design process, I think is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other questions? Anyone in chat or want to come off mic? And if not, there's a couple of cheers in
Awesome.
the chat.
Cheers. Thanks.
Well,
Thanks for
thank you.
sticking with me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ron. And I'm so sorry about the late start at the beginning. We'll correct that for the future. And thanks for being here, everyone. I'll
Awesome.
conclude this session, but thanks everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a
Ron.
good one.
Bye.
Bye.